Hello and welcome to the bee vlog. Today it's 53 degrees outside and the bees are flying. This is very exciting for me. I haven't actually got to see the bees fly in a few months. I think I'd have to check my logs, but I think the last time I saw them out was October. We've had pretty cold weather up until now, and now the bees get to get out, stretch their wings and relieve themselves. I see them bringing in pollen, or it could even be propolis for all I know, but I see stuff on their pollen baskets. So this is a very good sign for Queen Beatrice. They seem to be doing very well. I might take a peek inside that today just to see how their food is doing. I'm going to take a wait as well. However, Queen Anne over here is dead apparently. There is no activity out front, and just as I had suspected, I've been seeing a lot of debris on the bottom board and hearing nothing when I put my ear to it. And since there's no activity, I suspect there's nothing inside that's alive, or very little if anything. So I'm definitely going to open them up today and do an autopsy and see how bad it is. This is Queen Anne's hive, and I suspect to be a dead out. See quite a bit of mold. It just smells like mold up here on the top. Some water condensation on the honey frames. Some moldy bees. A lot of moldy bees over here in the comb. Nothing living in here. A lot of water. So here's the bottom board. Here's what I was seeing. When I look up through the bottom, all that dead bees and mold. So I need to clean that off. I just have to clean everything out. I'm not sure what to do about moldy frames, so I'll have to look into that. So here's where I see what looks like may be the remains of the cluster, and I'm guessing if I were to dig through there, I'll probably find the remains of the queen. You can see all this mold up here. It's not a pretty sight. But they have plenty of honey here. They didn't starve to death. I think this was just a case of being overrun by mites. But I'm going to take things apart and look at the frames, look at the brood, and see if it could, maybe it could be something else. Here's a frame of honey. Looks like they've, eaten up the honey here, as they should. So they were using their stores. Some mold in these sections of the frame. Let's take a look at what remains of the cluster here. They're all dead. there just weren't very many of them. There weren't enough to survive the winter, and it looks like they just froze to death or chilled. Let's see if I can find the queen here. It looks like there may be some, they may have been trying to raise more brood in these cells. I can't tell what's in here. Yeah, that's a bee yet to emerge. Another one. Doesn't smell bad. Doesn't smell great either. I think it, but the mold is what smells. I smell mold. Is that the queen? I think that might be the queen. Yeah. There's the queen, dead. There's Queen Anne. Right in the center of the cluster. Wasn't able to survive. This is very unfortunate. Take a look at the other half of the cluster. You can see it. There just weren't enough bees here. A lot of open honey here. No. Ugh. Could be water. Yeah, it's not sticky. Shake some of it off and see. It almost smells like honey, but it's runny. Could it be nectar? I think it's just water they packed in these cells here. And that's what's causing all the molding. Just the evaporation of that water. Because there's a coating of water all over every surface of wax here. This one's loaded up in that same liquid. So I guess that leaves the question of, what do you do with moldy frames? And it doesn't have a strong foul odor. So I'm going to rule out any kind of foul brood. And I'm going to rule out starvation because they had, part of the cluster had honey to its back. And they don't seem to be having problems with that. They did kind of eat themselves into a corner here, but you can see this part of the cluster here had its back to honey just on the other side. So I don't, honey was not, food was not out of reach. And the last time I opened them up, they were overflowing with bees. There were so many bees in here, I could hardly get it closed. But then those summer bees died off, and they were overrun with Varroa, so there was no new winter bees to replace them, and they just didn't have enough to make it through the winter. I'm gonna dig through the bottom board and see what if I can see any mites and what that looks like. All right, here's the bottom board. And unfortunately, because of the screen, any mites I find will probably just fall through. So I'm gonna be looking for mites that are clinging to bees. I was seeing mites on the larvae that they were pulling out late in the fall, early in the winter. So there's a whole lot of larvae here that are now mummified. So I can't really make much of them. They're mummified and covered in mold. So I can't really see what's what here. Looks like this is just a mess. So I'll do my best to clean up the equipment. Some of the frames, it's not a total loss. Some of the frames I can use as bait for some bait hives I'm going to set out this spring and summer to catch some swarms. I'm also going to be using some of the frames for any swarms I catch manually. I can use them as an attractant to stay in the box, or coax them off of the tree or whatever they're resting on. So it's not a total loss. I will find use for the leftovers and any of the frames of honey that I might want to consume myself. I'll harvest. So, life goes on. I'll get more bees, and we'll try it again with another swarm. Now I'm going to open up Queen Beatrice. I'm not going to do too much digging. I'm just going to see how big the cluster is, take a quick look and see how much food they've got. I'm not suited up, and I didn't light my smoker. Two bad ideas. So here's inside Queen Beatrice's hive. There's a few bees up here getting some honey, but the main cluster is down in the second box. I am not going to take this top box off. Yeah, I'll take a couple of these frames out though. So here is down in the second box. Lots of bees down there. They have a huge population and plenty of honey that they can get to. So they look like they're doing good. Thank you.